Okay, let's jump into it. Just ticked over 12 o'clock local time, and not expecting a great deal through today. We got US CPI tonight, 12:30 p.m. sort of local time here, so just over 12 hours away from now. Usually with these sort of large bits of data and that high tier level bits of data coming out, you see the market fairly subdued sort of prior to it all. So I don't think we're going to be seeing anything sort of super volatile. But I mean, as you can sort of see, if I sort of take this stuff off here, you can see, last couple of sessions again popped up and it's just flat. And this is pretty much the expectation that I had sort of, as I said, like, consolidation through here, leveled up, consolidation here, leveled up, and consolidation. So, yeah, I think the CPI is certainly going to be the driver. Expectation is for it to be sort of coming down. So, I mean, obviously that would support a little bit of a cooling on USD and sort of, the reverse if it does sort of pop up with a higher number. We are sort of going to see, obviously, sort of US dollar sort of firm up as they sort of think that, rates are going to sort of stay at a higher level for longer. Basically, in short, that the cuts it takes away the necessity to have the cuts any time sooner, as I said, rather than later. But yeah, as I said, that's later tonight. This morning, bit of Aussie data out. Westpac consumer sentiment that seemed to have shot right up. So it's a little bit of sort of confidence coming back here, and we're also seeing the NAB business confidence revised up from -1 to 1. -1 to 0, and then sort of coming in at 1 here. So look at how it's looked in the past. So I mean, obviously to a low of that back in December. So it's obviously sort of recovered a little bit here, starting to move in the right direction for it all. So yeah, it's interesting to sort of see where this may go. But again, look, Aussie data is only so good. It's really, what I mean, what they want to do with the US. Like Aussie will move and sort of support that move a little bit more. But if they want to sort of buy up the US dollar, well, unfortunately, Aussie's not going to get much out of that. Overnight, well, actually not overnight, coming into Europe's session yesterday, we did see a couple of measured moves play out. So this little double top from back here obviously gave us a little sort of measured move down here into a little support zone we can see as well. That came down here, clipped it, so that filled out. And also it got a bit choppy through this little bear flag move here. But realistically, we did see from this sell-off, we had a little bit of a bear flag forming, and the measured move came down pretty much in line with this as well. So that's another factor there. So you had three reasons really where sort of people might be sort of closing shorts or short-term shorts, or sort of potentially having another shot at buying it up. Obviously with the measured move completed with the double top, a little bit of sort of support on the chart here, and also the measured move of this little bear flag. And as you can see, as London opened yesterday, it just bang took off. And moved very strongly to the upside there, massive engulfing candle there. We have sort of seen somewhat of a, get this out of the way for now, somewhat of another sort of lower high coming in. I mean, this doesn't really mean much, as I said. When you got data coming out, it doesn't really care what's been happening prior. At the moment, we can obviously sort of see that, this is where the buyers are happy. Oh, this is where the buyers are happy to sort of sit along here. And, that's really where you got to see first level to get down under here, but mainly underneath this sort of retest of the previous resistance, which we still are yet to sort of see. And this is what I was saying the other week as well, that so we came around here, exploded back up. We haven't quite got that touchdown there yet, but you can see the reaction that was sort of coming up through here. Certainly very reminiscent of that, and it sort of shows that there's a lot of people still happy to buy this, even at 4 or 5 week elevated levels. So it could sort of be a sign for a little bit more to come. But we've got a pretty defined area. If we sort of say above these highs and kind of below this level over here, they're the 2 points that I'd like to sort of see break before we sort of say, okay, there's the next direction. At the moment, for now, really it is. I mean, it's oscillating, it's just consolidating, slightly lower highs. So we are seeing a little bit of a sort of a descending sort of triangle here. But of course, as I said, keep saying, sort of, the large bits of data particularly just don't care. And we've got quite a few bits of data coming out this week for the US. So DXY certainly can still break either way, sort of supportive of the data. In the short term, we did see a little bit of a gap up. It actually seemed to run into close last night. Actually, maybe that was on a different one, but we've seen a little bit of a gap up here. Obviously, this is our sort of first candle. If we sort of see the close here at 104.13, opened up here for 104.17 and just bang straight down into. So not really much to take away from that. No gaps in that to sort of really give us too much of a direction. Short term, we can see there's obviously a little bit of a resistance just at this area here. Nothing to say it's too major. I would just sort of say that at the moment we've got like a little bit of a sort of range playing in through here. And sort of get rid of this one now. Kind of broken from that point. Yeah, we want to sort of see, yeah, as I said, a little bit of a sort of breakdown here, but either way, even if it does break, as I said, I'm not expecting anything too major. You kind of got these levels just above either side of it as well. So if we do break out the top there, then, you know, the wick fill, this little higher range where we know the sellers tried to sell it down from the other week as well, or the other night, a couple of nights ago. So, you know what I mean. I think even if it breaks this little short-term range, which is only like 4 points or so, I think it's just going to be bounced back into it from these outer ranges as well. So we'll see how that sort of plays out. Gold failed a little bit overnight. What chart were we using in this one? And we saw the buyers sort of came back in sort of at this sort of 2012 level. So we are actually starting to get lower lows as well now. So if we drag these ones down through here, we can see that yeah, we can see obviously the sellers continuing to move down. Buyers now, instead of sort of stepping up here, which had tried to drive it up early, they just obviously gave that up and bang, sold straight back into. So we're seeing buyers sort of floating around this area down here. Realistically, it's a very big chop zone down here. There's no real sort of set level of a horizontal to sort of say, okay, this is where they're sitting. We did have a little bit of a rising sort of support here coming through, but obviously that got given away last night. It did hold for a second and pushed up into this little high spike, but obviously, as I said a second ago, and you can see it just got sold down, smashed out the lows. So we're seeing that the buyers sort of gave up that little horizontal. So you can't really sort of pick a horizontal through here. We had it at, you know, rally from 2016. We had a rally from 2011, rally from 2008, rally from 2015, rally from 2012. It's just all over the spot. So really you want to take the lowest of all these sort of things to say, okay, that's your main support. And, you know, if we do go down to this 2002, 2003, that's worth a shot to sort of shoot back up there. But as it is right now, we're seeing that the sellers are, as you can see here, are just driving it down each time. And they're coming in a little bit tighter even than they had previously. So, you know, you want to sort of see back up realistically above 2040. So $20 move to the top side to see any sort of really sort of bullish kind of momentum. But, you know, gold just really, as you can see, it's just choppy as sort of, it's really lost any sort of form of sort of direction. You see a lot of people sort of going, oh, yeah, it's trading heavy. And I guess that is the case because as you see here, you know, every time it comes up, it's getting smacked down. Every time it comes up, it's getting smacked down. And obviously, you know, sellers are happy to sort of take cheaper prices to sell it from all the way down through here since, what's that, since start of the month, really. It's almost 2 weeks. But, you know, it still hasn't broken 2000. So although it's sort of like is not moving forward, it's still sort of, as you can see, it's going sideways. So under 2000 is where you'd want to sort of hold if you were sort of looking long with it all. Above 2040 is the first point of call, but then of course, you know, 2063, 2075, the main one. That's a fair bit off there. But again, CPI tonight, that is going to be definitely the driver that's going to be moving US dollar. And I think that you're going to see that correlation come back into effect with gold. So if we see US dollar rip here, that could be the good night for, well, not good night, but, you know, for gold above 2000 for a little while, or at least a test of that 2000 level. And as I said, I'm looking at 1980 underneath that for a horizontal. But yeah, I think sort of if we do see sort of a lower print, you know, likewise, you could see gold pushing back up to this 2037, 2040 area. Aussie. So we have sort of seen Aussie attempting this sort of break high here. Put on slightly higher time frame. So we can see a little bit of a push up of the buyers sort of coming through here. Sellers were holding flat. They gave it up overnight, but obviously this top sell area here where we know that the sellers were previously, that's obviously pushed it back down again. So we're getting a bit of a retest of what this around here. So this so yes, pretty much it tells the story here. You can see that so the buyers were holding flat down here. Sellers were trying to drive it. They drove it down. Buyers stepping back up again. And, we're coming back into this and sellers sell it down. Comes up here, sellers sell it down. We see these sellers at this level here depleted. And as you can see, they pop through to the top side, and then you just got to contend with that next level of sellers. The 2040. It's 2040, I'm stuck on gold as well. The 6540 sellers. So another interesting point with this as well is that we're coming into contact with the falling resistance, which we kind of sort of started from the top up here back in sort of end of December. So basically running all year. We are sort of coming up against the top side of this now. So that's another reason why you may have sort of seen a little bit of a sell down. You've got these horizontal here of the sellers. You've also got that sort of falling resistance, and as such, you got smacked back on the nose. In short term, you could say that, look, we had a little bit of a zone here, obviously, as you can see. This was the sellers, push it down, break through, this is your retest. If that's the case, you got the alert set up here, that's for your little break higher, and that'll sort of give you a break out of that falling resistance. It'll also give you a short-term break back test and then run. So, you could be looking up, I think, sort of realistically up above here, we've got, in the immediate, it looks like we've just chopped through these zones quite quickly. But I think, you got to go back over here a little bit to sort of see where we might be going. And I think 65.60, which is the bottom side, realistically, of this kind of range that we were in through the other week. It could be 65.60, it could be 65.70, sort of 10 points thereabouts of it all. But certainly, I think sort of even if we do get the break higher here, so above 40, I think sort of 60 is going to be a little bit of a short-term cap on it all. Break above that, as I said, like, CPI tonight, we see the US dollar sell off. Aussie's going to appreciate a little bit on that. We're going to see stock markets rally. Stock markets have been pumping in that. Aussie has not been sort of running with the risk-on attitude of the markets, though, which is a little bit unfortunate for the Aussie. But in the short term here and now, we see obviously this top layer of sellers coming in. It's knocked it back. They're trying to hold this as a retest of this little short area here. We're seeing buyers, again, move up one more level. They're trying to sort of continue pushing this up here. We've taken out these first lot. You just want to see if these sellers have now flipped down to the buyer's side, and they're happy to sort of go, okay, yep, that's fine. I'll sort of cover my positions here. Or are they holding strong and going, look, you know what? I'm happy to take a little bit of this drawdown because we're going to really sort of push back down towards this sort of 6,500, sub 6,500 period here. So for me, I would like to sort of see above 65.43 where the alert set here. That'll show me a little bit of continuation with the price target up around 65.60. Back down below 65.10, I think you just got to call this a failed break. Or, it's obviously the resistance here, but if this short-term area failed break, come back down here, I'd be looking probably 64.90 for the buyers to really give it another go. So you want to sort of see that the buyers would be here if we don't hold this little level here, but as we come back down and sort of break through here, if we see these buyers disappear, I'd expect them to be moving their sort of their bids back down to 65.40, and we'll see the follow through to the downside there. Something that could be supporting the Aussie a little bit is copper. Copper's obviously been on such an absolute bash as it sort of came into that sort of massive confluence up the top side here. I mean, if you look at this, if we sort of have a look at how much it's dropped here through this period here to the lows, in 9 days, it's lost 7.25%. That is a massive, massive smack. And obviously that is not sort of helping the Aussie situation. A lot of this is, I would say attributed to China, because China's been having some pretty weak data sort of coming out as well. But, even if this is just a sort of technical bounce, we are seeing it from this zone. I think this is a bit more of a daily. Was it a weekly zone we had? Previously, I wouldn't really call this a great sort of weekly zone here, but maybe it was on the dailies while we had this one marked out. But yeah, we can see sort of a couple of rallies from this area previously. I mean, we're sort of going back to August here, but it has been an area, as you can see, actually, we've even got it marked out. This was the sort of swing, the sort of swing high of the sort of bit of a double bottom, which actually got us rallying right up out of that sort of big breakout. So we can see that this area has been marked out previously. This is why I like to keep a lot of the marks on the chart. So we can sort of go back and go, why have we marked this area? Oh, well, here we go. Here's the relevance. But again, look, we're seeing the buyers stepping back in here. RSI is way oversold. We've actually crossed over into the positive side. This is on the daily. 4 hour has broken out of this little channel that was coming down here. So it's a start for it all. But if we look at sort of previous price action of these sort of sell-offs, this was the sort of sell-off through say end of December, so start of January. And you can see here that it attempted to break out of that and then obviously got smacked down even further. So doesn't mean that, you know, we're necessarily going to, or doesn't mean at all necessarily that we're going to get a V-shaped recovery on copper coming back up here. We could very much, if we do sort of follow the same price pattern, come up here and then sort of smack down here and take out even the lows and then sort of start to move around along through here. But, you know, as I said, as we were sort of charting this part here, the first step is to break out of this first steep gradient, which is this one here. And you can see that this is even a steeper sort of sell-off and a lot tighter than this previous one. So if they do actually start to rip this up, there's going to be a lot of this move will unwind quite quickly, I would say. So, you know, it's not necessarily going to be the same, but comes down at a certain gradient, comes across at a slightly easier kind of gradient, like buyers are kind of sort of not sort of allowing it to come down so quickly. And they're sort of stepping in a little bit more. And then sort of, obviously, we'll sort of see it sort of recover a little bit more. But the first step is out of this channel. It's actually sort of moved quite well off the lows here. As you can see, this is on the 4-hour chart. And, you know, we're sort of seeing for the last day and a bit, this has actually sort of been progressing forward. And this is probably also sort of helping Aussie stave off sort of, you know, being annihilated at the moment. China, flipping across. We're seeing a little bit of that sort of confluence come in here. We had this sort of this falling support where we should see the sellers are moving down. They allowed it through for a second, but the horizontal seemed to have held them. So again, this is your break. You need to put in a new high to sort of confirm that you're going higher. Did have a little bit of a push this morning, but as you can see here, this is a 4-hour chart. It's been sold into, put on the 1 hour. You can see even that little push that it did have up, that's just been sold into quite quickly here. So, yeah, I mean, China, this pair, the one, is very choppy and quite slow grinding until it does move. And as I keep saying, we've got CPI tonight, so I'm not expecting a great deal sort of prior to that. But certainly the alert is set for that sort of move to the top side there. You can see it's just been up and down, very choppy through this whole area. Put it back onto the 4-hour. We could start to think that you may sort of get it if we put this up here, tighten this up a little bit. There could be a little bit, as you can see with this orange line here, a little bit of a 4-hour sort of triangle coming through here. Again, you know, you've got a lot of layers of support horizontally sort of underneath it. Not much above it in terms of sort of just directly up above. I mean, we got this little zone, I suppose, but I think if you can break above those highs, then you could certainly be looking, you know, a bit of a decent move. I mean, 0.5%, not a great deal, but yeah, 340 pips or so, minimum up into that sort of zone to give you that sort of right shoulder of the larger sort of head and shoulders that we've been looking at or sort of planning for. So it's certainly, yeah, grinding its way back up. I guess if you could look at it like this as well, if we do see a bit of a solid break, you know, this is the line here that you'd want to sort of be seeing taken out to sort of say that this is the rally. Because at the moment, you want to see this rally push up and come through here and complete this sort of channel move. At the moment, it's just failing to get there. Obviously, if it fails to get there, then you're looking at these downside lines. Where we've got this alert already set, I would still sit by that and say that that's a sort of bit of a confirmation. If we get a bit of a close down around that 7178 level, I think that could sort of see us coming back down to the bottom side. So really the alerts are set there. As you can see, we've pretty much got that tight little range data's playing in between. All right, that's it from me.